Hey, all my fantasy football friends, welcome into the show. MFDF coming through your computer screen, through your phone, through your TV, through your headphones, wherever you're joining us today. Thank you so much for being here. We got a great show lined up for you today. As always, I am Stoshx, bringing it to you with my friend, my partner, the man, the Philosiraptor. What's going on today, sir?
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
It's Turkey Week.
Absolutely. Hey, what's the 101 of Thanksgiving dishes?
What's the 101 of Thanksgiving dishes? Yo, I'm dessert man. I like pumpkin pie with the whipped cream on top with a little spray. That's the end is good. But my dad makes a honey ham that is banging. It is like the best glazed ham I've ever had. So that's up there for me too.
I love that. For me, it's probably going to be the cornbread stuffing
Oh
with sausage
yeah,
and
dude.
gravy.
Oh my God, you're getting me hungry right now just thinking about it. I'm psyched.
Yes.
Got two good Thanksgivings to go to. Got the one side of the family, got the other. Cannot have too much. Can't have too much football. Can't have too much fantasy football, baby. We are here in week 11, man. There are 11, 12, 13, 14. That's it. 4 weeks of your fantasy regular season left. You make some decisions, man. Your trade deadlines are coming up, and boy, we got some devastating injuries. We're recording this on Friday night. That Thursday night game just happened. We lose Burrow and Mark Andrews for the season. That is just sad, man. Sad. I have a heavy exposure to Mark Andrews. I am not excited. I'm handcuffed a few times, but not as much as I'd like.
Yeah, I've got. I have a taste of each. I'm not overly exposed to either one, but I've got a decent amount of Andrews, a little bit of Burrow. So yeah, it's been a challenging week and a challenging, looking at Burrow, it's been a challenging month for quarterbacks, right? So I mean, from actually it's been a challenging season for quarterbacks, going all the way back to Rodgers, Richardson, Cousins, Daniel Jones. It's kind of been a mess, and,
Just goes
and we
on
had
and
another
on.
one last weekend with Deshaun Watson as well. So
Fields missing a big stretch. It's been crazy, but we got some different stuff lined up for you today. We're gonna talk about some of these injury guys, and me and Greg have been active in the trade market, and I wanted to bring some trades to you that we've made, some stuff that we actually have made in our leagues, our money where our mouth is here. But what's a trade you've made recently?
man, a guy who I have been on honestly since last year, and you even heard it on the show here last year, as we were like in the fantasy playoffs. I said add Noah Brown for free because
Free.
this guy is a free agent, and whenever he gets a chance to play, he's pretty good. So I have a lot of shares of him, and I've been moving him for thirds right now. Moving him for thirds. I'll add a four if I have to, like add a contending four and Noah Brown to get a non-contending third. Is something I've done. I took a non-contending fourth for him once. I'm now is the time that you cash that free piece for a pick, and I've done that a few times this week.
And a roster spot sometimes too, which
Yes.
in a lot of dynasty leagues it's pretty irrelevant. But once you start contending and stacking up win now pieces, you get pretty deep. I got plenty of 14 team bench leagues, 12 team bench leagues where I'm starting to feel tight. So there's roster spots are of value for sure.
For sure, and one of these leagues I was moving him because I wanted to go get Jalen Guyton, who I think is like a similar grade of gamble, right? And so then you bank a pick, go get a similar gamble, and then hey, if Quentin Johnston falls away, maybe you're trading Guyton in 2 weeks for a third round pick, right? So those are the kinds of moves that I'm sort of churning. Anyway, if you've been listening to me and you've got a bunch of Noah Brown, he was my start of the week last week. Go ahead and cash some of that out right now.
Yeah, it's smart to do. I keep seeing him pop up on the block in a lot of leagues, and he's a fine buy at that third or fourth price. So it's really interesting there. I made a trade as well. So we've been talking. The theme of today's episodes is going to be all these hurt players. I recently traded away Anthony Richardson in a quarterback needy team. This league right here I'm putting on the screen. So we just lost Burrow, but I had Daniel Jones, and I was going to fill that gap. And I trade away Anthony Richardson, who was on my IR. This was a few days ago I made this move, and I trade away Anthony Richardson and who was the other guy in here, man? There it is. In my 24th third, and I pick up Jared Goff and Puka Nacua. So I like that to fill a gap, and I'm gonna have to pull something else off now because of the Burrow injury.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jared Goff is a really interesting ad. I think he's a real contender, a contending piece. He's been very good this year. He's got job security. I think he's underpriced. I considered him as a buy of the week. We'll do those on another episode this week. But you know, I like the idea of you're missing a quarterback, Jared Goff is the target. I got to say, I'm a little bit sketchy with Puka.
Yeah.
I have not loved the eye test, and I have not loved the production since Kupp has been back. So, wait and see. But, like, I get it. He's a rookie who's a wide receiver one, and you fixed your quarterback hole. So I get that. I like that.
This was my frustration, my complaints last week about how I couldn't find a deal for a cheaper quarterback. Well, this was a league where that was the case, and I was boxed into having to move Richardson off my IR. I really didn't want to do it, and this was a trade I felt comfortable enough about. When you're contending and you're trading off a hurt player that you've been relying on, you have to make decisions. You have to decide what that player is worth, even though his injury happened. And there's a lot of factors: that player's age, his lifetime production, his usage, the severity of the injury. They're not all the same. J.K. Dobbins ruptured his Achilles. I think he's pretty much dead for fantasy. Kirk Cousins ruptures his Achilles, and I expect him. I can already tell you right now, I'm going to be in on Cousins next year. I think he's going to be productive, and that's not even really knowing where he's going to play. But we touched on this a little before. With a lot of these injury guys, like you have to be considering shopping them away if you're winning and you needed that player. So you need to replace those points in your lineup, right? So if I'm a Joe Burrow, like I am here, Joe Burrow manager, who am I? And I pose this question to you, Greg. Who should I be looking to swap my Joe Burrow for straight across, or who might you sell a Joe Burrow share for?
Yeah, it's for me. I think the first guy I'm going to look at is Trevor Lawrence, and I'm also going to look at Tua. But I think the floor for me is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is a guy who, and I know you and I don't totally agree on Kyler Murray, but I just think back to like at 2022 startup season in a Superflex, Burrow or Kyler was your question at number 4. It was like Mahomes and Allen, then Herbert, and then at 4 you were like, do I want Burrow or do I want Kyler?
I remember.
And then Kyler got hurt and he dropped all the way down, right? And now he's all the way he's healthy. Burrow's got the season-ending injury, and Kyler played well in his first game back. And I'm like, if you need the points this year, you're a contender. You were relying on Burrow. Go get Kyler. There's every possibility that if Burrow's injury takes longer to go back, Kyler's actually the higher valued player next year.
And there's a good probability that Kyler's on a team that would be willing to trade him away, a non-contender, and that's part of the process here. Every league is its own ecosystem, so you look around your league, there's certain players that are going to be off limits because the team that's competing obviously needs that player. He's basically unacquirable. Kyler is commonly on some of the lower rosters in my leagues that I see, and there's a bit of a mindset that you want to talk to people in your league about, where some guys who are truly tanking, who are really in it, they want to move the points off their roster. They literally want to get rid of that. So like,
I was just gonna say, right? If you are a tanker, let's flip it around and say, hey guys, if you're a tanker and you bought Kyler Murray, you need to be checking the Joe Burrow manager right now. Right? Because like you could end up with half a season of Kyler, no points, half a season of Burrow, no points, come out the other end with Joe Burrow for very depressed prices,
Yeah, and then pair it with your
some
Caleb
stuff
Williams
with
or
it,
something that you just
and
tank
Caleb
for.
Williams
Yeah.
and some other stuff, right? So
Yep.
I think that's very good. Did you have any other names?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dak's someone to think about. I probably wouldn't trade Burrow straight across for Dak just on age and just kind of Dak's little blurb of depreciation there, even though he's been trending well, playing well. So like I think Dak's worth exploring. But like one thing I would stress is there's tiers of quarterbacks and there's tiers of as we go along this list, we got a few other guys to talk about that have been hurt that are mostly elite players that like you have to stay in that high tier if you're going to move that guy out of your injury if you're going to trade him from being injured, right? So like
for the purpose of replacing him.
Yeah. Like I would not like try to trade Burrow across for like a Baker Mayfield, right? And then like get a bunch around it to try to pay for that. Like that sounds bad to me. If I want Baker, if that other manager's willing to move Baker and we can find a trade for him, I'm just going to try to pay for that some other way because that's too far. You've dropped too far. And yeah, you get other stuff and maybe it works out for you, but you've introduced a lot of risk by breaking it up into multiple assets. So like I don't like making that style of tier down. I want to stay in that A tier, that top 10, top 12 tier if I'm going to move off of one of these hurt quarterbacks.
Is Jared Goff a player you would consider taking stuff with to get off of Burrow? Your contender, would you take Jared Goff?
Yeah, I think with my Richardson trade, that's kind of exactly I would. Goff's like probably the last name on the list of that top tier area, right? I mean, you got like maybe Dak's the last name on that list. I don't know, but it's up there.
All right.
Another guy who took a big hurting is we were complaining about this, but it's Mark Andrews, man. If you had Andrews, you probably needed him, or at least were enjoying him. So what are we doing with Andrews? Who would you sell a Mark Andrews for straight across? Give me a tight end comp.
If you were a contender,
yep,
I would sell him straight across for Dalton Kincaid right now.
Wholeheartedly agree.
It's hard at tight end because there's such a log jam.
Yeah.
Right. Like I saw somebody show that like over the last 4 weeks, like Kincaid and Trey McBride both went up by this like about the same number of points in keep trade cut, but like McBride went from 20 to 8 and Kincaid went from like 6 to 5. Right? Because like those top group and then it falls off, right?
Yes,
so
big gap.
Kincaid might be the only guy I'd go straight across for, but I am interested in taking like a McBride plus again if Andrews is a crucial part of my lineup and I don't have any reasonable replacement, and I don't have other assets I can easily trade. I'm interested in McBride plus.
Well, as the McBride owner there, assuming you're probably out of it, what would you offer the Andrews owner? What would you send with your McBride?
A second.
Well, second. McBride and a second for Andrews, and that sounds about market. I'd be pretty open-minded to selling Andrews for that. It'd be hard to ignore that. I think another player in that same kind of area is Cole Kmet, where if I'm an Andrews owner and I can get Kmet and a 2, I'm trying to win a championship. I don't have any other tight ends on my bench. My next up tight end is Jawan Johnson or something. Yeah, I'm looking at that. That's.
Yeah, although I think going back to your other statement is like maybe you just keep Andrews and see if you can rent Taysom Hill.
Yeah, and that's usually my first look with all of these hurt guys. Is I send out flyers to try and like see if I can't get someone for cheap. I sent a third round pick for Logan Thomas in a league where I own Dallas Goedert. I did that about 2 weeks ago. So those are the kind of trades I want to explore. I wouldn't trade Andrews for Thomas plus stuff. I would never have done that though, right? So.
Would you consider trying to get Travis Kelce?
Yeah, absolutely I would. He's probably on that good team though, so it's hard to get him.
Right.
Another guy who's taken a beating all season has been Deshaun Watson. You might not have been relying on him if you had him, but if you're looking to sell Deshaun Watson, what am I trying to get for this IR quarterback?
Yeah, so for me, the name Russell Wilson seems like a good one here. Again, let's just say you had, Deshaun Watson was your 2. You had like Mahomes, a really solid, any of the A tier, Hurts guys, and then you had Watson, and then you've got a quarterback 3 you don't really like. Like,
Mac Jones.
How about?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly,
Yep.
right. Like Kenny Pickett, right?
Gino.
Whoever,
Yeah, something
right?
like that. Yeah.
Wh- or like, oh, it was Daniel Jones, and now it's Tommy DeVito,
Yeah.
right? Like, right, and so like you can't go Josh Allen, Tommy DeVito into the playoffs,
No.
right? So, I think Russell Wilson fills that bill. And I think Russell Wilson's probably starting somewhere, whether it's Denver or elsewhere next year. I don't know how you feel about that.
If I expect him to be back with Denver, you're a little different, but yeah, he's played well enough where he would earn at least an opportunity. We'll see what he does with it, but yeah.
Yeah,
if he were available, if he were on the market or something,
true.
if he were released. Which, yeah.
What name do you have? Yeah, and
Yeah.
they can't. They really can't trade him. They have to cut him as a June 1st designation to spread the cap hit over 2 years. So like, if he's not a Bronco, he's probably just free.
Yeah, I wonder how much. But after that cap hit though, he becomes pretty. If they decide to keep him and we get past that February date, he becomes pretty safe at that point. Is it fair to say that?
Yes, if he is on the Broncos like the 8th day of the league year, he's probably a 2 more year starter there in Denver.
Be a moment of truth there. Yeah.
And if he's cut free right at the beginning of free agency, somebody will pay him.
Yeah, but if
I
I'm
mean,
looking,
maybe not a ton, but somebody will give him a job.
So with Watson, I mean, you know me, I don't have any shares of him. But if I was owning him, I look at KTC and their rankings. Directly above him is Jordan Love, one slot above him, and then one slot below him is Baker Mayfield. I'd swap Watson straight across for either of those players. They've produced at least at times. Each of them has. They're young, and if I'm contending and I got to make a move, then that's something I'm looking at. But I don't know. Watson hasn't been so active that you've needed him, but he might.
I still have a decent number of Watson shares, that all of which I had before the first allegation came.
Sure.
Right? He was like my most.
I remember drafting him a lot back then, 2019, 2020.
He was my most rostered player.
Safe.
And
Super
I have
safe.
been waiting for a good sell opportunity, and it never comes. Like it has not come. Like
It's tough. It's gonna be league specific, man. You gotta have to have a buyer in your league there, and it's just there's not one.
And
individual metas.
And it's funny. I came out of last week's game thinking this is about to be your sell chance. He looked his best since the allegations. I mean, he did it, right? Like,
Since the incident, incidents.
Stuff he did came out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Since the stuff he did came out, he looked his best this last week.
So a player that's going to take a big hit moving forward as well, moving on, is Mr. Ja'Marr Chase. So, there's ancillary effects to these quarterbacks getting hurt. You can't view Ja'Marr Chase as a top 2 or 3 weekly receiver anymore with Browning at quarterback. You just can't.
No.
The upside has been lowered precipitously. So, if I'm a contender and I have Chase and I'm not feeling good about, the next 7 weeks of football, what should I be considering? Would you consider selling a Ja'Marr Chase share for? What player straight across?
So I don't want to sell Ja'Marr Chase, but I would look at my roster and see how bad I need him to be elite. Like, am I a fringe contender? I'm keeping Chase. Am I a overwhelming contender? I need, I'm keeping Chase. But if I'm like the 3rd best team in the league, then I might swap out Chase for CeeDee Lamb and try to stay the 2nd or 3rd best team in the league. Yeah, if I'm the 2nd best team, right? He's the name, and Amon-Ra is the other name for me, where if either of those guys is on a non-contender, I might see if they want to go across. And I might ask for something back, but be willing to do it straight if they countered.
Yeah, it's worth having a conversation about. For me personally, I think Tyreek Hill, is a if you're really in contention and you need him, you need Jamar Chase's production he's been putting up. Like, if you send Chase to Hill at 1-for-1 swap, that owner's probably going to hit accept. You might even be able to get more on it, but like you're definitely.
I would need stuff with it.
Yeah,
it's that much age.
It's a conversation, right? Like
to me, the guy. If we're going older, AJ Brown is a name for me.
Yeah.
Like I would look at AJ Brown, but I'd probably ask for AJ Brown in a second, right? So like if you've got a non-contending team that has Hill or AJ Brown on it, like they're a little bit over a barrel, so I might want to get something back. But still, I'm very interested in making that swap in a way I wouldn't have been. Like I wouldn't have traded Chase with a healthy Burrow for Brown in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But now I would.
Yeah, I have a couple Chase chairs. I mean, swap it straight across for CeeDee Lamb. I would do that. I straight across for AJ Brown. I probably would look pretty hard at that. I'd think about that. I would ask for probably a pick too, like you're saying. If I could get Tyreek Hill off of a bad team and probably get a player with it, give me a James Conner or someone in that mold, then I'd consider it, man, because I want to win a title. I want to win money. And Tyreek Hill, I mean, yeah, he's older, but he's not like going anywhere. I think he's gonna be extremely productive again next year. So you can just keep riding it, and it's gonna bite you eventually. But like you're kicking the can pretty far down the road, 2 or 3 years, because Hill should maintain productivity.
Yeah, but value wise, I don't know. I get what you're saying. I probably need something with him.
I need someone with Hill too. I'm not swapping him for Hill, but like I'm looking at it if I'm looking to sell Chase. But T. Higgins is a whole nother conversation to be had.
Ooh-wee. What are we doing with T. Higgins?
Had a struggling season so far. The Higgins conversation is interesting to me because if you're in good shape right now and you own him, you probably didn't need him. So for me, I think you're locked into Higgins. I think you're, for the most part, holding him through this because you're not going to find the trade you want, and you haven't really needed him. So, like, what do? I mean, you just kind of wait and see. The upside's there. Ultimately, if he can move teams, he can stay. So, like, you just sit.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about him moving teams. I'm considering putting him on the block, seeing who's interested, and seeing what trades I can work out.
Yeah.
I feel very nervous about T. Higgins. Hey, I have a team. That has Mark Andrews, Deshaun Watson, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins on it.
Ooh,
it's been a bad week.
Sorry, man. Rough.
It's been a bad
0-0, baby.
Yeah. These things happen. All right, so let me ask you one more set of Joe Burrow questions.
Okay.
If you are a rebuilder, or not even a rebuilder, you had some injuries, you're out of contention.
Yeah, maybe 1,900 points were scored against you in 10 weeks.
Right, whatever.
Yeah.
You're out of contention. You got Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
What do you need on top of Burrow to swap?
I want a late first-round pick, or at least that type of value. I think that they're even when they're both healthy. To most people, the market would say they're even when they're healthy, and I think that market value is roughly 3 rookie first-round picks plus a kicker. That's like what I would say one of those elite quarterbacks is worth roughly in the marketplace. So for me personally, that injury, that's a season ender, but not a career ender, not a long-time hindrance, kicks his value down like to 75% of what it was. So from what we initially said, his liquidation would be worth. That's about a first. So that's what I need to move off of Herbert. And, I'm looking to take a prospect off that contending team's roster with it. I'm looking to get Burrow, their contending first, and then probably their second, maybe their Michael Mayer or someone like that, some prospect that I like that I want to take.
You greedy, my friend.
I'm so greedy. But that person's coming to me and they're asking for Justin Herbert and they're screwed otherwise. So that's what I want. And if I have to sit there and hold Justin Herbert, I'm perfectly happy to do so. I sell cars though. So
what if you're the
yeah, sorry.
What about Lamar? Same deal.
I think Lamar's like a shade lower, but yeah, yes, pretty much the exact same thing.
Did you take just the first without all the kicker stuff?
Yeah, I mean maybe Bear was like a higher pick, but I'm talking like a taxi squad guy. Like I want I want to feel really good about that trade if I'm sending Herbert away. Like I want to walk away from that saying, "Yup, that was great," and that's what makes me feel that way. So
okay, very good.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud for Burrow. Stroud for Burrow and what?
The Stroud owner's probably not going to do it. Stroud for Burrow and what? I mean, yeah.
Would you take Burrow in a first to get you Stroud? Burrow in a late first.
Yeah, so so where's Stroud at in a startup is kind of where it comes.
He's
to.
ahead of Burrow right now.
Yeah, I mean he is.
He's one or two slots ahead of Burrow, but if the Burrow owner is over a barrel, would you give up Stroud for Burrow in a first?
Yeah, I'd probably do that. Yeah.
There you go. All right, so there's some things you can do.
The upside on those first is great, so you got to take those shots. In my opinion, I mean that's it. Yeah.
You could even take it as a 25 first and hope something goes sideways and you get a high one, right?
Yeah.
We've
that
reached
happens all the time too.
We've reached the point where you mostly know whether your 24 firsts are high or low, right? Like there's not the upside on the 24 firsts has a little bit vanished, right? Like that team heading toward a bye week.
That uncertainty upside.
The uncertainty upside, like you're not getting up to 5 with that team that's currently in the 2 seed.
Yeah, you can pick any random teams first in your league and have a pretty good idea of where it's going to be, like within at least what 4 pick segment it's in, right?
Yeah, well, those 25s, it's great. Although I do have one league. I have one league, man. First place is 8-2. 11th and 12th are 2-8. The other 9 teams are all 5-5 or 6-4.
Are all 5-5 or 6? Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That's
very
one game from 2 to 10.
Yeah,
it's one game gap from 2 to 10. It's crazy. So like you could be in a crazy situation where there's still upside to miss the playoffs from the 3rd seed, right? Yeah. But your mileage may vary. All right, man. That's been a good one. And we're going to give you guys 2 episodes this week. We're going to do our normal buys and sells and starts of the week as well.
Yeah, we got to
check that out.
Hit it up. We got another video for the starts of the week, but this is just some injury discussion we had here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know who you're selling some of these hurt guys for. We didn't talk about Kirk Cousins. Has anyone traded away or for him? I've seen a lot of different deals around these players in my league, so I'm curious to see what the rest of the market is. Thank you for joining us. Comment, like, subscribe, and check out our starts of the week, and we are out of here.